Hi, and welcome to the Shoot from the Heart podcast with me, Diane Bell. If you want to write a script, make a movie, or quite simply live an abundant and creatively fulfilled life, you are in the right place. Each week I'll share with you tips, techniques, and real-world information that will inspire and empower you on your path. Thank you so much for joining me. I am rooting for you all the way. Let's do this. Hi there, gorgeous filmmakers, screenwriters, and creative souls. How are you doing? I am sorry that I have been a little absent here over the last week or so. Quite simply, I have been busy creating other things for you guys. And today I have a really special treat. I want to share with you the first half of the first session of 2021 Reset Revolution. So this was a series of 3 trainings that I just completed last week. They were live. They were free. Yes, that's right. Live and free. What? In my Facebook group, the Shoot from the Heart Society. I want to share with you the first half of the first training today on the podcast. And what this is going to focus on is what goals are, why we set them, and why they usually don't come true, i.e., why we're setting goals all the time that we just don't achieve and how that feeds us into giving up on them. So if you've ever done that, set goals, not achieved it, felt a bit disappointed and frustrated, this session is for you. If you enjoy this, you like what you hear, you would like to complete the series, the classes will be available for free in the Facebook group until sometime in January. I know that's really specific. I'm so scientific about these things. Sometime in January. I think it's around January 9th. They're going to disappear. So don't wait forever. Get yourself in there. It's the Facebook group, Shoot from the Heart Society. Join the Facebook group for free. You can watch this training and see the rest of it. The second half, I think, is even better. This is like the beginning, the very beginning of it all. It was a journey over 3 different days. This is the first half of the first day, but give it a listen. If it intrigues you, if you want to go deeper into this work, go join the Facebook group. It's totally free, and you will get access to those free trainings right through January. If you want to have the best year of your life next year, and who doesn't, come on, go join. Okay? Facebook. Shoot from the Heart Society, it's yours. And with that, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy this session. I hope you get something out of it. I would love to hear from you about it. Be in touch. Take care. Speak to you soon. Hello, gorgeous screenwriter, filmmaker, and creative souls. If you have ever set goals and then found that you have not achieved them, this is going to be for you. In the next hour, I'm going to explain to you exactly why you don't achieve them and how to make sure that you do. Over the next 3 days, you're going to learn the secrets to making all your dreams come true. And seriously, whatever you dream of for your life, whatever you would like to do, be, and have in your life, it is possible. Sometimes because we're not achieving our goals, we start to feel like it wasn't meant for us, that we're not worthy of it. But trust me, everything you dream of is possible. And in the next 3 days, I'm going to share with you exactly how to make it happen. So we are here because we want to talk about setting goals and actually achieving them. And I want to talk first just about what might be happening. Thank you, Gwyneth. Thank you so much. What might be happening for you with goal setting, and certainly what I used to do, which is every new year I would sit down and I would write down a whole bunch of goals for the year. I got very scientific about it at one point. I would have relationship goals, health goals, career goals, money goals, all the goals, just different lists of goals, come up with 10 for each area. And then I would find basically at the end of the year, I hadn't achieved any of them. And it would start to depress me a little bit, make me feel like maybe I wasn't worthy of them. Maybe they were beyond me. Maybe they were not things that were meant for me, things that I couldn't achieve. Maybe I should be more realistic, so I would make them smaller and shrink the goals. But that didn't work either. I found, that they didn't really happen. They didn't really work. And I know now, I've studied this, I've really gone deep into it, that's true for most people. They actually say that 80% of people have actually given up on their New Year's resolutions by February. So they don't even manage to get through a whole month. And maybe you do make it longer, but you still might feel that sense of that they're elusive, that you have these big goals or these big dreams and you do the work, you chunk it down and you really try to be strategic about it. But for some reason, they are still not happening. Does this resonate at all? So, as I said, at that point, typically for a lot of us, we start thinking, well, maybe my dreams are too big for me. It's not meant for me. And maybe also we sort of start thinking there's no point in even making goals. Like, just give up. Let's just give up on those big dreams and just get on with life because it's making me unhappy. And I think that's one of the things when we sort of repetitively set goals that we don't achieve, it starts to eat at our confidence. We start to feel like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't try anyway. And that's a really, really dangerous thing. Now, I just want to look at what normal goal setting looks like and see if this resonates with you at all. I think typically what we do is we decide on a result that we want to have that we're not currently having. So the result might be something like, I want to sell a screenplay, or I want to sell 3 screenplays this year. I want to make more money. Maybe I want to make a specific amount of money. Maybe it's like I want to make $100,000 this year from my creative work, something that's really measurable. And you're like, boom, that's what I want. I want to make a movie. I want to make this movie. I've got my script. I want to make the movie. I want to lose weight. Very common one, right? Or I want to get healthier. I want to get fitter. I want to get stronger. I want to do move my body more. Maybe it's a relationship thing. So it's some sort of result that right now you don't have that you want to have. That's your goal. Now, typically for humans, when we make a thing that we decide, I want that result rather than what I'm getting right now. The immediate thing that our brain does is think, how? How do I get this? How do I make this happen? What do I have to do? So if we are saying we want to make more money, we're immediately like, how do I make more money? What do I have to do to make more money? If we want to sell a screenplay, how do I do that? Right? And if we're smart, we might have learned this idea of chunking it down. And it is really essential to do this when you have a goal of making a movie. You can't just make a movie. You have to chunk it down to the smaller things, and you have to make smaller deadlines within it. Like, what are you going to do this week? What's next week? What's the week after? And really focus. And that is important. It is an important part of it. But if your overall goal is to become more healthy this year, you might decide you're going to commit to your yoga practice. And you might even get more details. You might have heard of this thing called SMART. Have you ever heard of a SMART goal? It's like an acronym, SMART. And it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. Okay? So, for instance, if you've said that you're going to do yoga because you've decided doing yoga is going to be the key to you getting healthier, if you want to make that goal SMART, then you'll make it specific. So you'll say, okay, I'm going to do yoga 4 times a week. I'm being specific about it. I'm not just saying, I'm going to do yoga. But you're going to go, I'm going to do it 4 times a week. It's specific. It's measurable. Every week you can see, did you do it 4 times a week? It's not sort of like, I'm kind of maybe achieving my goal, but maybe not. There's something very clear for you in that. It's achievable in the sense you've already signed up for a program online. You can get online classes 4 times a week. You can do this. It's realistic. You're not saying you're going to do 7 times a week. A big mistake that we often make with goals is we try to set something that's so big that we can never achieve, and then we get frustrated because we're not achieving it. But it's not realistic, and so we just give up. So that's achievable. You said 4 times a week, not 7, not 6, but 4. You're like, I can do this. And it's time bound, right? It is like 4 times per week, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this for the next 3 months, right? And it's like, it's clear. Now, what will happen though often with this, it all sounds good. It all sounds logical. It all sounds fine. I'm sure we've all done this. But does this sound familiar? The first week you show up, you do the 4 times. You're like, yay, I'm a champ. I'm going to get so healthy this year. Second week, you miss 1 day. You do 3 though, so you're quite happy with that. Like missing the 1 day, that was okay because that 1 day you were just tired and it was off. It was a hard day. It was fine. Like you cut yourself some slack. Not a big deal. Third week comes, you're only doing it twice. And again, you're like, that's okay. Like those 2 days, things came up. Nah, it's okay. So you did it twice. And then the 4th week, you're like, you don't even show up at all. Right? Does this ever sound familiar to you? I mean, this is typically how it goes for us with these goals. And we've done the SMART thing. We've chunked it down. We've made it into all the things that make sense. And yet we still haven't done it. And that's when we can often start to beat ourselves up and say, well, it's because I'm lazy. It's like, it wasn't realistic. I'm no good at these things. I'm not the kind of person. Well, who am I? Whatever. And we just like forget it. Or sometimes we just forget it. We just even forget that we set the goal and we get on with life. So the reason that this happens, the reason that we have a desire to do something and that we make a really decent plan for how to execute it, but we don't end up achieving it, it's quite simply because we're not looking at the whole picture of what actually determines our results. And that's what we need to do if we're going to get different results than what we've had before. If you want to get healthier, if you want to sell your screenplay, if you want to make your movie, it's not simply looking at that little part of the picture, but looking at the full picture of what determines our results. So let's take a look at it together. Your results are determined by your actions. And I'm going to draw a picture here because I think it's like helpful to see this as a visual. Now, we'll do it like this. So, I'm going to show you this in a second. So here's a triangle, right? The top part, it looks like a candy corn actually, but the top part of this is your results, okay? So let's write results. And so that's your results. In here, deep, deep, deep. These are the epic, amazing results that you want to achieve. And in here's your actions. And this is why we always think, okay, like my results come about because of the actions that I take. Makes sense, right? So if I want the result of being more fit, I have to do more yoga or show up to the gym or change my eating habits as actions, right? If I want to sell my screenplay, I have to write the query letters. I have to call people up. I have to do a bunch of things. I have to learn things, right? I have to take all these actions, and the actions are going to get the results. That's perfect. It makes sense. And that's why, that's why we do the setting goals the way we do. And that's why we create a plan of action. So makes sense. The problem is, right, we're not looking at what the actions are determined by, right? Because the actions, and it's like, this is really just a tiny part of the picture. Let's look at the bigger picture, right? The actions are determined by your feelings. So let's just look at that for a second. So your actions are determined by your feelings. So if you feel good and confident and empowered and excited, you're going to show up to your yoga mat. Right? You're like, yes, right? I'm optimistic. I know this is working. I feel great. You're showing up to the yoga mat. If, on the other hand, you're feeling tired, lethargic, despondent, and like a little bit powerless, you're less likely to show up. You probably won't show up, right? It's your feelings that drive your actions. Okay? Now, you might think, what drives your feelings? Right? Let's think about that for a second. What drives your feelings? And you immediately might think, well, it's the external world, right? Like my feelings are reactions to the world around me and to things that are happening and the circumstances in my life. Does that sound right? So it's like, I feel good and confident because things are working out in my life. I feel powerless and tired because I just lost my job. There's a global pandemic going on. I feel awful, right? I feel depressed. I feel despondent because of this situation outside of me, right? That seems to make sense on the surface of it, doesn't it? I mean, I would say like that just like you go, yeah, that's what it is, right? Here's the truth, and here's like the mind-blowing thing. Your feelings are not created by external circumstances. Your feelings are created by the thoughts you have about the external circumstances. And this is one of the biggest realizations you can have, and one of the most empowering things you will have in this whole pyramid, in this whole scheme of changing your results, is your feelings are a direct result of your thoughts, not the external world. Now, you might be like, wait a second, Diane, this is not true. Like if I just lost my job, right? If I just lost my job and I feel depressed, like I feel despondent, I feel powerless, I feel unhappy, it's because I just lost my job. It's not because I'm thinking. It's not because of my thoughts. It's because I just actually lost my job. I don't know how to pay my rent. Don't give me this BS that's about my thinking. The thing is The external circumstances in the world, and this is like a hard one for many of us to get, is they're always neutral. They're not good or bad. They're just always neutral. It's just our thinking about them that makes them one thing or the other, that makes them good or bad. The pandemic, for instance, right now, we could say, well, that's just bad. Obviously, the pandemic is a bad thing, right? And it makes me unhappy, and it makes me feel stressed, and it makes me feel anxious, right? The pandemic, though, is not good or bad. It's just a thing. The world is always neutral. If you think about the pandemic from the point of view of the virus itself, it's a good thing, right? It's getting to travel the world and expand. I mean, it's a hard perspective to take, or a strange one, but it is a perspective. There's also apparently billionaires have added $11 trillion to their wealth during the pandemic. They're probably not thinking it's a terrible thing or it's a stressful thing. They're thinking, oh, this has been another opportunity for us to make a ton of money. So everything that is going on, we choose our thoughts about it. If we're thinking about the pandemic, this is a disaster, this is awful, this is terrifying, I might be the next person that gets sick, this is so awful, right? If these are the thoughts that you're having, you know what kind of feelings that will create inside you. You're going to feel depressed, you're going to feel miserable, you're going to feel despondent. Now, you could choose to think, okay, this isn't great, but a vaccination is on its way, and if we just keep social distancing and doing the things that we need to do, we'll get through this. And maybe we'll learn some things from this. Maybe there'll be some positive outcomes from this. Okay, so it's the same situation. The situation has not changed. But when you think these thoughts about the pandemic, now you might be thinking to yourself, feeling like actually okay, like actually kind of empowered, actually secure, safe, like things are going to be okay, optimistic, hopeful. The situation didn't change at all. The circumstances are exactly the same. Same thing if you've lost your job. You could go, oh, well, this is terrible. I'm never going to get another job. I'm screwed. Like that was the only job for me. And now I don't know what I'm going to do. You could think that when you lose your job. Or you could think, okay, I enjoyed that job and that was a good job, but maybe there's something better out there for me. Maybe this is my time to move into something that really suits me, that really uses my skills. Maybe this is an opportunity. Same situation, identical situation in the external world, just different thoughts about it. The external situation has not changed. Okay, and this is true for everything. This is true for absolutely everything in your life. You can change your thoughts and choose your thoughts. This is a mind-blowing concept. I mean, to me, when I discovered this, when I discovered that I could choose my thoughts, it was like, what? I can choose to think what I want to think about situations. And by choosing my thoughts, I change my feelings. And by changing my feelings, I can change my actions, and then I change my results. Do you see how this works? But when you're just trying to change your actions to change your results, and you haven't addressed anything down here, you're not going to change your results. Now, you might be wondering, okay, like, let's carry on with this. Thoughts. Can I really choose my thoughts? Could I be in control of my thoughts? I'm sure you're aware of the idea that you have about 6,000 thoughts a day. I think that's right. I've written that down years ago, and I don't know. I should double check it. Someone can Google it. How many thoughts a day do you have? It might be more than that. So can you really choose thoughts? I mean, where are these thoughts coming? You have a constant flood of them going on in your brain. Constant. Where are they coming from? What are they? Can you really choose them? And it is a good question, and we can talk about right now very briefly what is below this, because there is something below this that is largely driving your thoughts. And I'm going to call it your coding. I'm just using that word. There's many things that we could say for it. Coding. Okay, and your coding is going to be your habits, your beliefs, and it's your subconscious. And let's just imagine, to be honest, this line here is where we go. Everything below this line is your subconscious. And actually, if you want to know the truth of it, in your brain, this stuff up here, from this line up, is your conscious brain. It's 5% of your brain. 5%. Let that sink in for a minute. So actually, if we were drawing a real picture of this, we would have 95% of this triangle going down here. It's kind of like an iceberg. Okay? This is all your subconscious, your deep subconscious. Now, scientists have shown now that most of the decisions that we make when we choose something, when we're in the supermarket and we choose something, or we decide to do something or not do something, we decide to switch on Netflix or not switch it on, or we decide to go to the gym or not go to the gym, all our decisions like that, 95% of them are driven by the subconscious. Yes, that is actually the determining factor. It decides before your conscious brain decides. And you think it's you deciding, but it's actually this. I mean, you can imagine if this is like just the top 5%, you can imagine how big this is. Can you imagine that? It's huge. Okay. So this coding that you have in your life is the most powerful thing that is happening in your life. It's running your life. This is the coding that was put in you. So like, we can ask, what's in my subconscious? How did this get made? Like, what's the deal? So much of what is written into your subconscious was written in there in the first 7 years of your life. In the first 7 years of your life, you're like an empty slate. And everything that is said to you is just written down verbatim as fact into your subconscious brain. Okay? So it's like if somebody tells you, you ask your mom, for instance, can we buy that? No, we can't buy that. We don't have money for that. Money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think? You think we're made of money? We're not made of money. We don't have money. We're not buying that. If I had to buy that for you, I'd have to buy it for your sister too. We don't have enough for that. We don't have enough, right? Now, all of that, and it's told to you in a nice way and with good intention, but that's just written into your subconscious. That's your coding. We don't have money for that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Do you see how hard your dad works? Right? This coding is put into us. And that's what's fueling our lives. Now, as we develop and grow up, the way that things are put into our subconscious are typically through emotional moments, through feeling. So we can experience lots of things. And for you right now, if you bring up memories in your life, why do you remember certain things and not other things? Have you ever thought about that? Like you have all these experiences every day, but why do you not remember lots of things that go on, but you remember there's certain things that are very strong? Have you ever thought about why certain memories really do stick with you? It's always because they're coupled with a big feeling, right? It's always the big feeling thing that plugs in a memory for you. And when it's a really big feeling experience, it will often go straight into your subconscious and reside in there. So right now, your life, whatever is going on in your life, is as a result of these things, right? It's really like, what's in your bank account? Why have you got this amount of money? It's your coding. It's what you're coded for. Why is your health the way it is? Again, it's what you're coded for. It's what you've been coded for. You have got the code for every result, the relationship you have, the job you have. Everything is as a result of your coding. And the coding is really running the show with your thoughts until and unless you decide to take control of them, which is ruling your feelings, which is ruling your actions, which is ruling your results. Which is why when we try to tackle our goals from this level up, we're always doomed to fail. It's never going to work. I mean, you're never going to, with like all the stuff down below it that's really running your life, you're not going to be able to change it by attacking something with what you do. You have to attack it down here if you're going to change the direction of your ship, if you're really going to get different results. An interesting thing to consider is that many of us, we want these different results. We want something new and something different that we haven't had before. But we're not willing to do the work down here. We think, if we just change this, it's somehow going to happen. And this is like magical thinking. It's kind of like baking a cake again and again with the same ingredients, with the same recipes, right? And expecting it to come out differently. And to be honest, my mom told me recently, this is absolutely true. My mom recently baked a cake and she said, I'm so pleased with this cake. It came out so well. And I was like, oh, that's great. And she said, yeah, I used a new recipe. I went, that's great. She said, yeah, for 30 years of something, I've been using this one recipe. This is true.
And, it just never really came out that good. And I was like, Mom, why did you keep using the same recipe if it didn't come out that good? And she said, well, it was from a really good cookbook that I really trusted. And so I thought it was something that I was doing. Now, do you get this? This is how most of us are living our lives, right? We have been coded by some sort of authority figures who told us this is the way the world is. These are the rules. This is how it is. This is what you're worthy of. This is what you can get. This is what you can achieve. This is what you can expect. And you're living that out every minute. And now you want different results, but you're not changing the recipe. You have to change the recipe. You have to change the ingredients. That is how you will get the different results. That's it. So, many of us, we are just walking around. We are so attached to our beliefs and to the coding that we have had that we don't even know we are seeing the world through our prism. We are absolutely convinced we're seeing it as it is. When we walk around and we say something like, well, money is hard to get, we're convinced that that's just a fact. That's a fact. When we say something like, it's hard to sell a screenplay, we just think that's a fact. Like, that's an external fact of the world. It's hard to sell a screenplay. Look at the statistics. Look at what so-and-so said. Read the books. Go in the Facebook groups. It's hard to sell a screenplay. Says who? Is it really hard to sell a screenplay? Is that an actual fact in the world, really? I'm going to tell you right now, no. It was very easy for me to sell a screenplay. My first screenplay, I sold it within a year. It was not hard at all. It was not hard. Well, that's different. That's just one-off. No, that's an experience just like other experiences. Why are we telling ourselves this story? Because it's in our coding. Our coding is so deep in us. It's so deep that really it's hard at the beginning to begin to make the differentiation. It's hard to realize that the circumstances are neutral and it's just our thinking about something that creates our reality. We all will have areas where we just go, no, but I am right about this. And the crazy thing about humans is we'd rather be right than actually get our dreams. Have you ever thought about that? Like, no, I am right. It is hard to sell a screenplay. I'm not listening to you because it's hard. Look at all my friends, listen to these people. It's hard. And we want to be right because that makes us feel safe. So we'll cling on to our coding. We'll cling on to it, even though it means that we can't achieve the new results. So, as we talked about, the coding itself mostly has come from, the deepest coding has come from our first 7 years. Children have, their brains are developed in such a way that they're just open. It's just like a computer. You're just writing the software for them the first 7 years. And then after that, it starts to get reinforced. And certain neural pathways in your brain will become very strengthened, certain connectors. So for instance, if you were told repeatedly, there's not enough money, right? That will become a very strong connection that every time you think about money, you will immediately think there's not enough. And that is what you will continue to get in your life. So when you think there's not enough money, you start to feel bad about the things, right? You start to feel hopeless. You start to feel like, oh, it will never come to me. So the actions just don't happen. When you start to feel like that, it's like, whew, give up. You want to sell your screenplay. If you're in this place of going, it's impossible, it's so hard. It's so hard. No one does that. Hardly anyone gets to do that, right? You're thinking these thoughts. You think you're describing the world. It's not. It's a bunch of thoughts about it. It's not reality. It's just your thinking. And these thoughts make you feel powerless. What's the point? Why should I even try? I'm not going to write that letter. I'm not going to send that email. Why would I do it? Could be embarrassing. Might get rejected. Couldn't handle that. Don't take the actions. Keep getting the same results. Do you see how this works? But if you change the thoughts, If you change the thoughts. So if you change that thought to, some people sell screenplays. Actually, I knew one person who said it was quite easy. Maybe it is easy. Maybe I can do this. My screenplay is good. It's better than actually most of the movies out there. Why wouldn't someone want to buy that? Now, if you start to think these thoughts, do you see how your feelings are going to change? You don't feel despondent and depressed. You're kind of like, woo, this is kind of exciting, right? This is good. And now you're excited and buzzed up. You're like, I'm going to make those calls. I'm going to write those letters. I don't care. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that could happen is somebody says no. That doesn't mean I'm in any worse situation. I'm already in the no. My screenplay's already not sold. I don't lose anything by being told no. I don't lose anything by being rejected. Oh, Teresa asked, what if you can't remember much of the 7 years? Most of us can't. Most of us can't. And it's okay. The amazing news is, and the great news is, that we can still reprogram our subconscious. You don't have to live with whatever was put into your operating system. It will take effort to change it. It doesn't just happen like that. But you can change even the most deep-rooted subconscious beliefs that were planted in your brain. You can actually change them once you make that decision and once you decide to do it.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it made some sense to you, inspired you, got your juices flowing. For the rest of that session, which does include a mind-bending, life-changing meditation, go to the Facebook group, the Shoot from the Heart Society, join, and you will be able to see the rest of that session and the following 2 sessions. I apologize as well for the quality of sound. It was recorded in a live stream on my phone, so it's a slightly different quality of sound. And you probably also heard my 3-year-old son playing in the background because, hello, welcome to pandemic parenting and working, such as life. I hope maybe the little sounds of the guy just brought some smiles to your face. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week. This has been a big one, but please, please, please do this work. I swear, if there's anything that's going to help you create the life that you want, get the results you want, sell the screenplays, make the movies, do the awesome, epic things, it is doing this work. So don't wait. Go join the Shoot from the Heart Society and get into those other classes. I'll see you there. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week.